25 years of operations, the Nigerian field guarantees a promising future for the country. The ongoing AKK project is no doubt a far smaller project, but it is very big on Nigerian content. Its targets include 100% project management man-hours to be performed in Nigeria, 81% of total detailed engineering man-hours to be performed in country, 100% of construction and fabrication works for 3 out of the 4 packages to be performed in country, 100% of procurement through Nigerian-owned companies, 100% of third-party services by Nigerian-owned companies. Beyond the achievements we already recorded, we are also facing the future in line with the theme of this year's forum. The development of local capacities is the surest way to ensure a sustainable future. Accordingly, we continue to contribute in several ways to Nigeria's economic development through our CSR initiatives and collaboration with professional bodies such as yourselves. The Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society's NMGS Total Prize has been the coveted prize of the society for years because in addition to money award, winners go on a fully sponsored technical trip to our scientific center in France for 2 weeks, during which they are exposed to our proprietary technologies. The company makes an annual expenditure of over $40 million on CSR projects in Nigeria, with remarkable investments in capacity development, employability, health, education, as well as infrastructure. Some of these you may have heard of. They include the Institute of Petroleum Studies, IPS Port Harcourt, which was established in 2003. It offers world-class education on industry-oriented training, continuing education, applied research, capacity building, and community service to meet technological advances in the oil and gas industry. The MIT Empowering the Teacher, MIT ETT program, enables outstanding young Nigerian lecturers in the areas of science and engineering to collaborate with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, in developing new curriculum and teaching methods that adopt MIT's emphasis on problem solving and developing entrepreneurial attitudes among students. Benefiting lecturers have been able to implement innovative programs in their universities in Nigeria upon return. Addressing the challenges of climate change. Addressing the challenges of climate change is one of the critical means of assuring a sustainable future. Total wants to be part of the solution to climate change with the commitment to delivering affordable and clean energy to the population. We have made the important investments locally in this area and implemented several initiatives that are already impacting the Nigerian energy landscape positively. Some of these include over 1.5 million people in Nigeria have been impacted from sale of 400,000 total solar lamps since 2013, according to Global Lighting Off-Grid Association estimates. Worldwide, 10 million people have been impacted. Out of our 577 service stations across Nigeria, more than 77 of them have been solarized as at the end of January 2020. This is an ongoing program, and our target is to ensure that our stations all become solarized. We have also deployed over 150 residential solar solutions across the country. Our investment in the LNG from the beginning to now is partly derived from our commitment to the production of cleaner and better energy. At the group level, Total's ambition is to become the responsible energy major and to get to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. This consists of 3 major steps: net zero on operations by 2050 or sooner, net zero in Europe by 2050 or sooner, and 60% or more net carbon intensity reduction by 2050. In order to achieve these objectives, we identified some key initiatives. 1, promoting the use of natural gas, biogas, and hydrogen. Investing in low carbon electricity, mainly for renewables. Investing in low cost oil and biofuels. Investing in carbon sinks that are essential to achieving carbon neutrality, either nature-based solutions or carbon capture and storage. In conclusion, I'd like to commend these forum's organizers for adopting the COVID-19 compliant and innovative virtual platform for this year's discourse. No country has been spared the devastating effect of the coronavirus. As a responsible corporate citizen, Total rose to the clarion call of the federal government along with its partners, led by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, by contributing to a donation of 21 billion naira in support of the federal government's COVID-19 efforts. Total's contribution was about $3.2 million, which is equivalent to about 1.2 billion naira, which is growing. We have also supported the Lagos State government with critical supplies and medical equipment. In Rivers State, we reached out to our stakeholders by providing medical supplies, and our downstream company, Total Nigeria PLC, donated 50 million as part of a combined contribution from the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria under the auspices of the NNPC, and also provided the Lagos State government with fuel for logistics support during the pandemic. We believe in the development of local capacities, and we continue to work with all stakeholders, including yourselves, and especially the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, to ensure the sustainable economic development of Nigeria. I wish you a successful deliberation. Thank you for your attention. So this is all from the speech from the DMD. For me, what I would like to add is just to take a cue from the last part of the speech, just to acknowledge and appreciate all the good job the SCDMB has been doing all these years. And more importantly for me, looking at the theme of today's conference, facing the future. I note recently, reading through newspapers and on the social media, you see SCDMB has started this program, which really touches me, because I know that's what is important to unlock the future for this country. And that is touching the lives of every young and able-bodied boy and girl in the country. So they started this program called the GSM Entrepreneurial Development for the Northeast of Nigeria. So they trained young boys and girls in GSM repairs, both hardware and software, ICT repairs, and also entrepreneurial skills to be able to become MSMEs in future. For me, this is what can unlock the push of future for this country, because I cast back my mind to what I read one time about China, how they got to where they are today. It was all about boys and girls starting something in their garages in front of their houses, doing little things and building it up. And today they have perfected it. Those days they used to say they copy from people, they are copying from different countries, but today they have perfected it and they are leading the world in all these areas. So for me, if NCDMB can just expand this, despite all the effort they are putting in the oil and gas and all of that, for me, this one that touches on in an area that we know has created a lot of capacity for the country. It has helped to grow the GDP over the years. I know for IC, GSM has increased our GDP from around 3% to about 11% in less than 10 years. So if we're able to unlock the potential in all these young people, that will be a great thing, and I support it, and I really commend them for that. So please, I will please beg that they extend it to other parts of the country, and to also support on those other areas. And coming to that, in terms of other areas, we as Total, one of the things we have also started to do, apart from all this that I've railed out in the speech by the DMD, for example, we started collaborating with SDMB to renovate and revitalize technical education. So we started with the Technical College in Port Harcourt. So we're going to rebuild the school. We're going to provide them materials, and we're going to give them opportunity to also have access for their teachers, to have access to international educators, to be able to revive these skills that are missing in our country. We need people that can do plumbing. We need people that can do basic carpentry, basic things that are missing today. That sometimes we are looking for, we can't find. We have to go get people from other parts of Africa to help us, even from other parts of the world. So we need to unlock this part of our country, and that Total is already started with using the KK project to support the SDME to develop this. And we hope and please we plead with everybody who's listening here, other companies and other other stakeholders to please support this effort to be able to unlock the future for our country. So on that note, I will just say thank you for, again, inviting us and giving us this platform to speak to you. So that's all from me. Over to you, Richmond.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very, very much, Mr. Alex Agedo. So when they say someone is the Executive General Manager for Operation Support Services, you don't look any further than Mr. Agedo. He has told you in his conclusion that he's currently overseeing that portfolio for Total. And I agree with you, sir. We all need to get those expertise back on the streets and in the business hubs of Nigeria to empower our youth. Big applause also to the NCDMB. Thank you for guiding us through what Total is doing in ensuring to support the event and indeed support the Nigerian people with all of your operations. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing now from Total's, our chairman for today's opening remarks, to a keynote from the agency of government that has been rated or ranked as government's most transparent and efficient agency in the last couple of years. They have done this simply by ensuring that they deliver far above and beyond their mandate of ensuring utilization of Nigerian talent in the oil and gas industry. So our next speaker, from reinvigorating the operations of the NCDMB to developing the Nigerian content 10-year roadmap to grow Nigerian content retention to up to 70% by 2027. He and the board have also continued to drive innovation, job creation, and economic growth in our dear country, Nigeria. As you heard our last speaker allude to what they are doing in different parts of Nigeria. I'm aware in Northeast, in the South, in the Middle Belt, they're doing it in different parts of the country, okay? And I'm speaking of the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Simbi Kesiye Wabote, who is unable to join us today because of the high-powered meeting happening at the National Assembly today. There are quite a number of people in the industry that are connected to local content who have cause to be in Abuja this morning, even as we speak to you. For that reason, this remarkable expert and fine Nigerian is unable to join us, but we have no cause to worry, as yet another eminent Nigerian is standing in his stead to speak on his behalf this morning. Time would fail me to tell you of all the many accomplishments of this gentleman representing his boss. But let me just suffice that to say that he is currently the director in charge of planning, research, and statistics at the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. I yield this virtual platform to Mr. Daziba Patrick Oba. Boss, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Richard. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm indeed pleased to be part of this webinar. My name is Daziba Patrick Oba, and I'm the director. So, okay. Yes, my name is Daziba Patrick Oba, and I'm the director, Planning Research and Statistics, NCDMB. And I'm going to make a presentation on behalf of the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Simbi Kesiye Wabote. And I'm glad that our MC, Osuji Richmond, has spent some time to explain to us the reasons why he's not here himself. I'm going to start by making this anonymous quote. The past is your lesson. The present is your gift. The future is your motivation. For me, what this means is, if you allow someone else to write your history, you'll be confused in your present situation, and then you will have no control of your future. Next slide, please. My presentation is going to be in 4 parts. The first part will be Nigerian content below 5%, which is the past. The present, which is Nigerian content at 31%. Facing the future, and the future of Nigerian content at 70%. Now, let's talk about the past. Now, this slide tells us a little bit about what used to be Nigerian content levels in the past. It tells you very clearly that we lost about $380 billion. This is, I believe, is a very conservative estimate if you know the history of what happens around the oil and gas industry. And of course, it tells you very clearly that we have had a lot of influxes of skills, both semi-skilled labor, skilled labor, and materials manufactured equipment, and of course, even marine vessel services being done in the country, such that welders, fitters, etc., everything was imported into the country. Utilization of local materials, utilization of labor was almost zero, apart from the few laborers that you find around. It's a reality. Walk into any company in those days, any IOC in those days, what you used to see was expatriates littered everywhere. So what do we send out to these foreign companies? It was our crude oil and then our gas. Nothing came back apart from finished products and of course, materials that were ready to be deployed to the oil fields. So what used to come to the country, what was retained in country was usually less than 5%. And how did it come in? In forms of signature bonuses, in form of taxes, and in form of royalties. Now, this slide talks about our journey so far. You have some signposts here, indicating some kind of milestones from 2001 and of course to 2027. Like I said in the previous slide, before Nigerian content came into existence, we used to have less than 5% Nigerian content activities domiciled within the country. But history is that in 2001, the presidency set up some committees to chart a way for the establishment of local content. And that bettered the 19 presidential directives in 2005 and 21 presidential directives in 2006. And then the big story started in 2010 with the enactment of the Magic Act. In 2016, we had the 7 big wins, which was poised to address short and medium-term policies to grow Nigerian content in the oil and gas industry. And then the other one in 2017 is the 10-year roadmap, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, Executive Orders 3 and 5. All of them have to do with support for the use of local raw materials, local skills, and of course, how to better the economy and add to the GDP. Then you now have 2018, which is, of course, I mentioned that Executive Order 5, and then we have the ongoing amendment of the Magic Act currently with the National Assembly. And our target is to increase Nigerian content levels to 70% in 2027. Now, the mandate of NCDMB. This slide talks about our mandate, and two keywords pop out on this slide. And those are the develop and then the monitor. So we develop local capabilities and capacities, and then we also monitor compliance and enforcement without compromising standards. You can see our vision, our mission, and our values. The important thing here is that we have decided to set aside ourselves as a catalyst for the industrialization of the Nigerian oil and gas industry, as you may see in the upcoming slides. Next slide, please. Now, the present Nigerian content at 31%. Now, this is a snapshot of some of our success stories, which is not new to a lot of the people in this call. We intend to grow our Nigerian content to 70% in the year 2027. And of course, you know that some of our Nigerian companies are doing so well in the production sector of the oil and gas value chain. We have companies like Eroton, ATO, Oando, First E&P, and MPDC. The main actors in this call will be able to attest to the success of Nigerian content implementation in the activities of this company. Alex Aedo, of course, in the video that he was presented to showcase the activities of his company, of their company, shows very clearly this ship, which used to be our flagship project, and that is the Egina FPSO. So this is, we're able to do a lot of work, which you have made so many pronouncements to the country and the entire world about what we have achieved in it. And also, you can see a lot of fabrication in country, as shown in this picture here on the left. I believe this is produced by Saipem. We have also done a lot of trainings. Alexa Edo also mentioned the GSM repairs that is being done currently in Kano and some parts of the Northeast. I intend to use this platform to reassure us that we intend to leverage on what we have in the oil and gas industry currently to be able to spread the philosophy of local content throughout the nook and crannies of this country, to be able to develop a mindset where we all depend on what we produce, what we have, converting them into products that we can depend on, thereby rewriting our history so that we can better control our future. If you remember that very first slide by the anonymous quote. We also have created a fund, the NCI fund, which a lot of companies have benefited, and I think recently we have increased it from 200 million US dollars to 250 million US dollars. This is also a continuation of our success stories. We have some equity investments in some modular refineries in the country. Refineries such as Ezekiel, Walter Smith, the Pont, and of course an oil blending plant, which is situated in Bayelsa State. And of course, if you look at it, you see quite a lot of things we have done, including where I'm sitting and making this call at the moment, which is our 17-story headquarters building. We have some local pipe mills and the pipe coating facilities which are in country. And of course, all this we're able to do because we have to leverage on the provisions of the law, which is first consideration for local companies with the right capacity to be able to execute jobs. Now, again, if you look at the previous slide, you see there's a point that is called no gaps. These are our facilities which we are building. Currently, we're building one in Bayelsa State, we're building one in Cross River State, and then, of course, Akwa Ibom and Imo State. We intend to use these facilities to be able to catalyze manufacturing activities in the country. Next slide, please. Facing the future. How do we intend to face the future? Now, before 2020, we had assumed that everything was going to be the same. Nobody thought of what is happening now. And then something happened and took everybody unawares. And that is COVID-19. The masquerade that is without a mask. Nobody sees it coming, but you feel it all around you. Now, what is the key issue around this COVID-19? For me, the key issue around this COVID-19 is that it threw up a lot of primordial situations, primordial circumstances that have to do with your ability to survive and exist as a human being. Whether you call yourself a nation or a people, it attacks your conscience, your abilities, your capabilities to circumvent what comes along with COVID-19. Every nation seemed to be on their own. People were confused. And that underlines the fact why we need to develop our own local resources, our own skills to be able to exist whenever situations like this happen. Today, we are talking about COVID-19. By the time it leaves this planet, we'll all go back to our state of doing business as usual. We will forget that probably in a few years' time, or maybe in tens and tens of years or hundreds of years to come, we will still have people that will replace us, who probably have the same look as we do. Question, how do they intend to handle their own future? We might probably be exposed with something that might be more dangerous, more potent than COVID-19 as we know it. So COVID-19 has disrupted the way businesses is being done as we know it, and of course has led to serious glut in oil prices. So the factors that has contributed to this downward trend of oil prices, of course, we know COVID-19, the oil price wars, and of course could be the Sino-US trade wars, as the case may be. So we should all be prepared for all of these things in the nearest future. It might happen anytime soon. Now, this slide talks about local content agenda. We intend to leverage on the situations that we find ourselves to be able to do more in local content, but we need the collaboration of everybody. You know, it is not news to anybody that is abreast with local content policies that we are not alone in this business of local content. If you look at this slide very well, you see the legend here at the bottom of the slide. You have blue, yellow, and then red. So you see blue countries have some sort of local content, yellow countries have recently adopted local content, and then red countries adopted local content policy. But it's also good to let people know that some countries such as Brazil are actually pulling away from the local content concept. And they're not pulling away because they feel that it is bad. It is because they've been able to build requisite capacities to be able to do things on their own. So there is really no need to do all of that. That becomes an incentive from government. Next slide, please. Achieving sustainable development is what this slide focuses on. So we begin to see, like I mentioned, Executive Orders 003 and 005, and then of course trainings and jobs in order to be able to fulfill the provisions of those executive orders. And of course, how do we intend to pull out some resources from the gains of oil and gas businesses to be able to invest in health, in agriculture, in infrastructure? I've always advocated that if you go around and look at the the iron deposits that we have, iron ore deposits we have in this country, they're enormous. Why have we left it? Why must we be importing steel products or iron products to be transformed into other forms of metal to be able to use in the industry? Why can't we do something? We have enough coal to be able to do what we need to do. Why can't we do something? Today we are talking of oil and gas, but we've forgotten what is happening in the green energy sector. Enough research is going on and a lot of promises. In terms of thermonuclear energy, a lot is being done. 35 countries have contributed resources in terms of skills, in terms of finances to be able to build an experimental thermonuclear energy research equipment in the southern part of France. What is the essence? These guys are not crazy for them to contribute about $6.6 billion, 35 developed countries to be able to do that. That means they can predict very correctly that that is an energy form that can be tamed. And once that happens, what is going to happen to the oil and gas industry? Questions that we must answer. The same thing with electric driven cars. Every day you open the news media, what pops up is one kind of car that is being produced, and you know what kind of cars that are being produced, and in terms of the ability to use electricity to drive them, or hybrid energy sources such as electricity and the PMS. So we must ask ourselves questions. We must not say to rely on oil and gas industry alone. We must be able to, put back what we have and then put in areas such as health, infrastructure, agriculture, and other sectors of the economy. Next slide, please. The future. From us, our future of Nigerian content is to be able to achieve 70% in the year 2027. This slide tells you a little bit of our history and then the future, and of course identifies the gaps that we have been able to put forward before our management team. Like I said, before 2010, what is retained in country, the oil and gas industry was less than 5%, and as 2017, it was 26%. Between 2017 and 2020, we have been able to grow it to 31%. We have been able to identify a lot of gas, but this is just specific to the oil and gas industry, the upstream sectors, midstream and downstream sectors, and of course, sectoral linkages as identified in the previous slide. We were able to, at the end of this, if well properly implemented and allowed by policies, government policies to operate, we'll be able to create about over 300,000 direct jobs, and then retain about $14 billion of the annual income from the oil and gas industry. And of course, we'll be looking at catalyzing the building of shipyards, and then of course catalyzing the manufacturing of goods and services. This slide talks about the 10-year strategic roadmap that we have put in place to be able to push local content from the current stage of 31% to 70% in 2010. So we're talking about enhancing our technical capability development, and of course also compliance and enforcement, and then enabling the business environment, organizational capability, and sectoral regional market linkages. These are the key 5 pillars that we have in the roadmap. Now we have enablers: funding, regulatory environment, collaboration and stakeholder engagement, and research and statistics. All these things form the very ingredients that we need to make sure that we realize our 10-year 70% Nigerian content levels come 10 years. Now, in closing, next slide, please. I want to draw our attention to some facts about local content practice. This is not a local content practice in Nigeria as we know it, but this is just about the global local content practice. A local content practice is not to be done at all costs, meaning because you're a Nigerian, you came in with a briefcase with all the papers and you think that you can get a job just because you feel that the law has to back you up. No, that's not true. We must do what we are supposed to do following international standards. So it is not done at all costs. Now, we must also realize that if there are no projects, of course, there is no local content. That is why we try to engage all the IOCs and all the players in Nigerian oil and gas industry to be able to encourage them that whomever that has invested his money or assets in doing business in the oil and gas industry should be able to do so comfortably. And the Nigerian content is there to encourage him or encourage them to be able to do business and be able to make profit from whatever investment they have made. Now, it is not a social corporate responsibility, but it is business. A lot of people, get confused. I've attended a seminar where somebody, had to made a very strong argument that what they do as local content in their own country is the same thing as CSR. But we told them, no, that's not true. Even though we probably might be operating what our laws are different from yours, but in our own sense, we see local content as business. It is business. If it is not business, standards will be compromised. And of course, the players will not have any need to be able to take the risk to do what they are doing. And of course, we have also seen that local content here is poised to create a domestication and domiciliation of value-adding activities. This is what we do. We try as much as possible to be able to do that. If you're bringing in some goods, some services, we should be able to domesticate that and domicile some of these activities within the country to be able to increase our local content level. We have also said to the public that local content is not a sprint. We cannot start today and expect to increase our levels to 100% in the next 2-3 years. But we need everybody to be able to support us in doing this. Sometime, I remember in 2012 or so, when we went to South Africa on a global local content conference, we had to ask the South Koreans how much local content is done in their country. They said their level was 98%. And 98% was the local content level achieved by the Chinese as far back as 2000, 2002. We are 31 today. Reaching 70% is going to be a very serious milestone, given the fact that every other sector that is around the oil and gas industry need to beef up the activities to be able to attain the level that we are looking at. So local content is a sprint. We know it's not a sprint. We know it is a marathon, but we need to put our heads together, our efforts together to be able to increase the pace at which we'll be able to achieve the desired goals. Local content is not about nationalization or Nigerianization. You don't intend to Nigerianize anybody's business. The law provides for a certain amount of experts that should be employed by the company while they do business in the country. Ours is to be able to domesticate and domicile activities. Local content has no one-size-fits-all solution. Local content has its peculiarities all over the world. We are practicing our own. It cannot be exactly the same way that is being done elsewhere, and it's actually not the case. I want to use this opportunity to thank everybody for giving me their attention. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Patrick Dazioba. Thank you so very much. Amazing, representing the ES there. He is the Director of Planning, Research and Statistics at the NCDMB, walking us through what it was, what it is, and what it will be. 5, 31, and 70 is where we're going. 300,000 jobs to be created directly from the industry, and 14 of 20 billion to be retained in the industry. He closed by reminding us, even though it's a marathon, the Koreans are at 98%. We will get there. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so very much. We appreciate your very incisive presentation this afternoon. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will be continuing with our program, but please let me make this appeal to our distinguished attendees. If you want to ask a question, locate the Q&A box, not the chat box, the Q&A box. Only questions in the Q&A box will be attended to. Thank you very much. That way we're able to manage the questions better. So your questions should be asked in the Q&A box. Thank you very much. Totally appreciated. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing right now with our presentation. In the NCDMB's presentation, they spoke about their partnership with the BOI. Even in our chairman's opening remark, as a chairman of conference, he also spoke about the partnership between the NCDMB and the BOI. That is when the NCDMB gave out the Nigerian Content Intervention Fund to some deserving Nigerian business owners. $200 million was giving out at that time in that phase, and I'm sure many more would come. So our next speaker is coming to us at is very important to the discourse of local content in the future here in Nigeria. He has served in very many capacities on different financial institutions board, as managing director, as director, and of course, as a chairman at some point, a very renowned and respected financial expert within and outside Nigeria. I am talking about the man who currently sits as the managing director of the Bank of Industry. He is unable again to join us. I am told that he had prepared and was ready to be with us this morning, but was immediately summoned to the city of power, the Federal Capital Territory. But not to worry, Mr. Olukayode Piton, Managing Director, Bank of Industry, much as he's unable to join us, he is to be represented by an executive director at the BOI. We'd like to welcome Mr. Simon Aranonu. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I want to thank the Almighty God for an opportunity to share a few things that we are doing in Bank of Industry, in conjunction with, in partnership with Nigerian Content Development Monitoring Board, the NCDMB. As far as the Nigerian Content Intervention Fund is concerned. I thank everyone, especially the organizers, the Richardson Group. We have been partnering with them for years, and we are happy to partner with them again, and by the grace of God, we continue to partner with them to move messages about Nigerian content and issues about oil and gas forward. I want to start by giving a little background. The background I want to give is that just a reminder to all of us that the Nigerian Content Intervention Fund was actually signed into law in 2010. So we're talking about 10 years ago. But let's remind ourselves that not much took place. We had very little until 2017, until when the current management of the NCDMB, led by the Executive Secretary, Engineer Simbi Wapote, took over. And we saw a lot of traction almost immediately. And so we need to commend the management of NCDMB for so much work that have been done within so short a little time. And so in 2017, they immediately signed an MOU with the Bank of Industry. Of course, before you take a wife, you need to take a look at the qualities of your wife. Our track record and so many things made it possible for the marriage to take place. We've been Nigeria's foremost development bank, and we are now 60 years old as a development finance institution in this country. And so the marriage was easy to consummate. We signed that into the MOU into a workable document and started implementing it almost immediately. And one of the things, just for purpose of information, is that it was started with a fund size of about $200 million US. And the idea was to be able to support, indigenous companies, who are into oil and gas, particularly in the upstream sector or midstream, to be able to enhance in-country operations and be able to domesticate production in oil and gas sector, to be able to retain jobs, of course, generate foreign exchange for the country. The benefits are very tremendous. We all know it. With that domestication, jobs are retained. With that domestication, capacity is built in country. And of course, massive savings in foreign exchange that could have gone outside the country. So these are the immediate benefits. But the qualifications, as we all agreed in that MOU, is that you really must be an indigenous company to qualify, which means the ownership must be at least more than 51% Nigerian, for you to qualify. But one other key condition is that you must be a contributor to Nigerian content funds. It's not just for anybody who is a player. Those who are players in the industry know that if you're executing any contract for any of the IOCs, you will know that a percentage of your invoice is deducted and remitted to the NCDMB, to the funds. And that is the source of the fund for domestication, for the local content initiative. And so if you are contributing to the fund, you must have a number. And that number is a prerequisite. So beyond being a local company, you must be a contributor to the fund. And of course, you will also show that you have an existing contract to be able to justify why you need funding for the operations. And so those are the key requirements. And so we went into action almost immediately in Bank of Industry. And between 2018 or thereabout and 2019, in less than 18 months, we had disbursed $200 million, that was advanced for the funds to several players in the oil and gas industry. To be specific, 31 projects have been financed through these funds. And we've received massive applications, and we have processed. But we have the prerogative to be able to review using our own banking application processes and our risk acceptance criteria. But ultimately, the final concurrence comes after our board has been approved. It's approved ultimately by the board of the NCDMB. And so we've done like 31 projects, disbursed fully $200 million in roughly 2 years. And of course, we had to also, we constantly meet with NCDMB, every quarter to review performance. We submit returns to them, and they know what's going on. And the application process is seamless. There's a portal for it. You apply online, and you are guaranteed in 45 days you get either a yes or no if you meet the requirements. That's one of the parts of the things we agreed in the MOU, which were implemented. I'm glad to say that all the 31 projects are working extremely well. They are all local indigenous companies, and the performance of all the loans is excellent. There's no single bad loan among them, for which we are grateful to all the beneficiaries, and we are also appealing to future beneficiaries to actually take a cue from that. There are 5 major areas for which we lend the money. We provide the funding. One of them is the contract financing. The contract financing has a limit of $5 million US, per beneficiary. And the interest rate is 8% per annum for a maximum of 5 years. Of course, it also has moratorium depending on what the contract terms will be. We also have the one we provide for those who want to do in-country manufacturing for items for oil and gas. And that has the limit of $10 million US. And again, with 8% interest per annum and up to 5 years tenure. Then we have a line for asset acquisition. If you want to acquire, rigs, you want to acquire, marine vessels, that has up to, again, $10 million upper limit with up to 5 years tenor at 8% interest per annum. And then we have what we call the refinancing line, where if you have you're a player and you have borrowed money from any of the commercial banks, which we know is normally pretty expensive, you can come to a Bank of Industry and we refinance that loan. And by providing you basically buying over the loan that you are exposed to commercial banks, and at the lower interest rate of 8%, again for up to a period of 5 years, And then the very final one is the one we call community contractor financing, which is to be able to support community contractors, who are executing jobs for any of the players in the industry. And that has a limit of up to 20 million naira per beneficiary, but at a low interest of 5%. Now, this is what we have been able to do with the funds of NCDMB, for different beneficiaries. But then, during the when at the height of the crisis, during the pandemic and all the lockdowns, we knew that everybody had, and the oil prices went down, so many crises took place, and we haven't fully recovered. Bank of Industry, had to reduce interest for all our customers, and offer so many palliatives. So we had to approach the board of NCDMB and requested that we should do so also for beneficiaries of the fund. And they graciously, the board approved that we reduce the interest from 8% to 6% per annum. So right now, all the loans for the dollar exposures, for the contract financing, for the manufacturing, for contract, for asset acquisition, they are now running at 6% per annum. As a palliative, and then in addition to that, they also had to provide tenure extension. If your project is under moratorium and it is still running, and it's a project that still has up to 3 years to go, and or beyond 3 years, you can get up to 12 months extension. If below 3 years, you can get 6 months extension. So those are palliatives provided by the NCDMB board, for which all the players have been communicated and they are enjoying. Now, talking about the future, which is really the theme over here, the future is so beautiful in the NCDMB partnership with BOI, because after we exhausted the funds, we went back to NCDMB about some time ago, and again, the board has graciously approved and released to Bank of Industry additional sum of $150 million US, making it now a total of $350 million US. $150 million we have not yet disbursed, but it's available for disbursement. Out of that money, $100 million is available under the 5 terms I mentioned to you earlier. Asset acquisition, contract financing, manufacturing and refinancing. Now, but that's $50 million they are set aside for special beneficiaries. Who are they? That's a $20 million set aside for women in oil and gas. Then there's another $30 million set aside for members of PETAN. The member, thank God I saw the chairman of PETAN is here. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that. So the modalities of disbursement of these funds for the PETAN and the members and which is mainly for working capital and for capacity building, and the one for the women in oil and gas has still been worked out between us and NCDMB. As soon as we agree that we'll notify all potential beneficiaries. So the future looks bright in our opinion. On our own in Bank of Industry, we are also financing with our own funds. In fact, we have some projects that's for example, a modular refinery we are financing with $25 million, and there are other projects we're financing with our own funds. Also, we signed an agreement with China Exim Bank for $500 million for financing of modular refineries. Those are the things we're going to do. We're working with NCDMB to ensure that indeed we move local content forward. So with this, I just want to say we are privileged to have talked with you. We are ready to keep working with NCDMB and the industry can only be a beneficiary for it, and local content will be continued to get better and better. And thank you so much for listening to us, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. So real quick, we will just take a 1-minute video of the BOI before I continue to our next speaker. Go ahead.
The COVID-19 pandemic is a clear and present danger to the world, especially the developing nations like Nigeria, from a health as well as an economic perspective. Bank of Industry understands that these are very challenging times for all Nigerians, including our dear customers, and it has been working tirelessly to provide the critical support required by our customers, not only to survive, but to thrive in these difficult times. To mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, President Muhammadu Buhari has given a 3-month moratorium for loans given by government-owned financial institutions, which includes us, and we have fully implemented it. To further strengthen our support, we've also put the following measures in place. 1. Customers who would need more than 3 months moratorium have been advised to apply for an extension which can be up to 1 year, approximately 12 months. 2. Reduction of the interest rate on all BOI funded projects from 10% to 8% per annum, with effect from April 1st. 3. For our customers, we've negotiated interest rate reductions on some of the funds managed on behalf of other partners. 4. Intervention funds granted by the Central Bank of Nigeria have been covered by the CBN's palliative measures, which include moratorium extension and interest rate reduction to 5% per annum. In this season, more than ever, we are committed to our goal of supporting economic development by providing financial and business support services to enterprises. We don't just provide loans, we work continuously with our customers to ensure that they succeed. BOI provides financial and business support services to micro enterprises, small and medium enterprises, and large enterprises across a wide range of industries, including agro and food processing, creative industry, healthcare and petrochemicals, oil and gas, renewable energy, solid minerals, ICT, fashion and beauty, and light manufacturing. Also, our developmental impact are numerous. For example, in 2019, BOI disbursed 234 billion naira in total to 10,415 enterprises, facilitating the creation of 1 million direct and indirect jobs. In the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program known as JEEP, 8.2 billion naira was disbursed in 2019. 34.9 billion naira has been disbursed to 2.3 million beneficiaries since inception. Remember to protect yourself and others by wearing a face mask when you are in public. Do not shake hands. Wave instead. Don't move around if not important. Stay at home. Stay safe. Sanitize your hands with alcohol-based sanitizer or wash your hands often. Bank of Industry, transforming Nigeria's industrial sector.
Okay, brilliant. Amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Simon Aranono. Mr. Simon Aranono is the Executive Director in charge of large enterprises. I was so, thrilled by that presentation on what they are doing to support businesses in this season. Their great partnership with the NCDMB, the fact that there is a new release of $150 million, and how service providers like Pattern has been catered for in this new facility. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Simon. Simon Aranono is the Executive Director, Large Enterprises. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're now switching gears. We're switching gears to the next presentation. Of course, this next presentation, before I take the speaker, we would have a 1-minute video of his company before we take the speaker. Okay, so our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, needs not too much introduction. An industry expert with over 30 years experience in the industry. And of course, he is responsible in safeguarding Shell's multi-billion-dollar investment in 4 deepwater blocks offshore Nigeria and managing more than 600 professionals, staff from several nationalities. Of course, part of his core responsibility is to ensure that there is a very good relationship between the operations and the environment, the safety of workers, and the health of all of these over 600 people. He is one speaker that has featured a lot of times on this platform. I'm passionate about what the HSSE Forum by P.S. Arjan Richardson stands for. I yield this virtual platform to the Managing Director, Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, Mr. Bayo Ojulari. Oga, the stage is yours.
Richmond, nice to see you.
Always a pleasure.
And ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And I hope we're all doing well where we are, and I hope we're all keeping safe. It's a great pleasure to be at this forum again, to connect. This is a very important platform, and I give my kudos to the organizing body for their resilience and the ability to still put this together despite all the challenges that we've all been through. And I also say thank you for your resilience. It's also following up, to make most of us, available for this, because it's not been very easy with all the competing challenges we have recently. But I just want to commend you for the great work pulling this together at this time. Richmond, do you have my presentation, please?
Okay, or do
I need to share myself? I just wanted to be sure.
Ayomide, are you sharing for him?
I can share if you want me to.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. If you have, yeah, you can share if you have it. You can go ahead.
Okay, super. Okay, let me do that, Richmond. So this is one time where I'm attempting to do your job, Richmond. So forgive me if I struggle a bit.
You're always good at it, sir. Always good at it, sir.
Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Absolutely, sir. We can. You can go to slide mode now.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, thanks, Richmond. Okay, so slide mode. Okay, all right. There is a little picture here. I hope I can pull that down. Please forgive me.
We can see it very well, sir.
Okay, I hope you're not seeing my picture on one side.
No. We're good.
It's only
we can
me
see
seeing
it.
that. Okay, thank
yes,
you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, a disclaimer, typical just for us to know that all I'm going to present today is not for contracting or any competitive commitments. A lot of it is about my views around the contributions of Shells in Nigeria. I will just reconnect us. I mean, quite a number of my colleagues who have spoken this morning. I mean, starting with Mr. Alex Aguido, I think he's covered a lot of the context. Super presentation also from Patrick Oba from NCDMB, and Mr. Simon Rono from BOI. I think a lot of the content have been covered, and I will just try and focus a bit on talking about the Shell and our experience and challenges, and hopefully that would elicit the right level of questions. So just take this as one example of a place where local content in Nigeria is being implemented. I'll talk about the opportunities and then share some key issues and what I see as enablers. So I think the first slide here is local content. What does it mean to us? And I think it's important as a corporate citizen of Nigeria, and for most that it's from the top of the house. It's not something that is being done, even though we call it a local content or Nigerian content. These are international companies. We operate in many countries around the world, and we also experience similar local content requirements around the world, and we try to adapt to things that are in line with the NCDMB directive and the Nordic Act, as well as take our learnings from other parts of the world into what we do here in Nigeria. But what is important is that the whole impetus about local content is hardcore in our global strategy. So I want to start from the if you look at the triangle on your right, that's the Shell's global strategy, summarized in just a few words, right? At the top of that strategic ambition, you see being a world-class business case, which means we have businesses that are world-class in terms of their profitability and their return on investment. The second strategic ambition for the Shell Group is the strive in the energy transition, which is basically move to greener energy and lead in that forum. And the third one is strong societal license to operate. We work in countries, we work in communities, we work in societies, and our contributions, our citizenry in those societies is critical to what we do globally. And I just added two quotes from here. One from the Shell Group executive, the CEO of the company, and you can read that. They're boosting local economy by creating jobs, developing skills, and working with local suppliers builds trust. And any businesses around the world, anywhere you want to build a business or you're investing in the countries, trust is key. And that is a two-way street. Now, if you come home to Nigeria and you look at our country chair, Mr. Osage Okumbo, and you again read where this is anchored, share companies in Nigeria, pioneer developments of Nigerian manpower and suppliers in critical areas of upstream businesses, bringing about an enhancement in the quality of service delivery by indigenous vendors. We have supported many Nigerian companies to improve their processes and acquire more technology know-how, resulting in better and more cost-effective operation for the overall benefit of the Niger Delta and the Nigerian economy in general. This is something I'm proud of as a Nigerian employee of Shell, and I'm very proud of us as BioJulari as well. So this is a DNA issue. We don't see local content as an optional item. It is part of our DNA. It's something that we do. And for any company that want to truly thrive and move, you need to move from seeing this as just an item to be something that's integral part of what you do and what we do. Now, the second slide here is to say that this is a very thoughtful approach. For us, it's not just something that you do or something that happens just by accident or something that is just, and I think if you remember, one of the points that was made by Patrick was that local content is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And when something is a marathon, you really, really have to ensure that, you have to ensure that you have structures, you have sustainable structures, you have processes, you have frameworks that are able to be sustainable. Otherwise, it cannot be a marathon. So this is an example, and is what Shell does. So we're committed to development of Nigerian content as part of our sustainable development, as I said, both for the Niger Delta as well as in the Nigerian company. So, sorry. Yeah. So if you look at this and start from the left, you see things around funding and support for facilities and systems serving the industry. So it is key partnering with the academia to develop industry solutions. We have many examples where we are partnering with Nigerian universities in developing solutions, unique solutions across our businesses, from the mud we use to drill, where we have University of Port Harcourt, University of Nsukka and Ibadan doing some work. We have breakthrough technologies being developed locally that has helped to reduce our cost significantly. We have several examples where we've also collaborated with academia in other part of our, both in terms of our seismic. We have centers of excellences, for example, University of Benin, where we're doing a lot around, geosciences, so on and so forth. But it's not just one item. At the bottom, you see support aimed at improving supplier capability and capacity through funding and networking. Again, it's not just about funding, it's about providing the capability that is needed and the support that is needed, both internally and from our own experience around the world, to support these vendors to succeed, both in terms of their human capital development and in terms of their capacity development as well. Seek for opportunities to manufacture in country. So for us, local content is not just about services. We've actually talked about made in Nigeria. There are several examples where we've collaborated with local manufacturers and encouraged the use of their manufactured items and pioneer the use of those items as well. So there is local content in service. There is local content in terms of collaboration with research. There's local content with respect to actually made in Nigeria. We've also had cases where we've collaborated with Nigerian companies in acquisition of assets, both assets for services, but also in supporting them in assets in terms of operations as well. So this just gives you a few dimensions of very deliberate strategies for each of these items that is end to end, cradle to, I will call, outcomes. And that's the kind of structure that we have in place to drive local content. It is just to give you just some pictures. Some of you must have seen some of these pictures before. In terms of human capacity development, quite a number of initiatives there, both in terms of training, in terms of helping people in terms of their developments, providing all sorts of projects that develop people on different aspects of our businesses. If we then go to the middle, supplier development, again, shares contractor support fund also that have been put in place, which has also been complementary in support in collaborations also with DOI, and also have a lot of exhibition where we organize ourselves and put the framework in place and get all the local manufacturers to come and exhibit what they're doing. And we have all our staff from all departments participate in those exhibitions so they can pick items there, they can sponsor items and actually translate some of the talks into action. Examples of in-country manufacturing we've supported. You can also see infrastructure development. The Caverton story remains one of our pride of place, being one of the companies that actually supported a Nigerian company to actually go into this aviation industry that used to be exclusive of foreign services, and that continued to grow from strength to strength, and supported a lot of ownership of several marine fleets by indigenous companies, helping them in both in terms of technicalities, in terms of funding structuring, and in terms of providing startup opportunities and jobs that has created. These are just a few examples. Most of you have more examples out there than I can present at this time. Now, talking about the future, in terms of, and I think again, Patrick did show at least much more detailed slides around, what is happening. But I just want to give a flavor here around, if you look at the chart on your left, the local contents that we have around the country, there are some that are really hardly regulated and softly regulated. But all in all, it's all around, everybody developing and enhancing in-country capabilities. The mining countries, you can see the kind of percentage of local resource-driven countries. Oil and gas countries, you can see the kind of percentage we're talking about. And then when you combine that, so that's something that is, it's the future, it's growing. And more of capabilities that we see growing. So regulation in one form or the other, either in form of creating the enabling environment that allow growth of local capabilities and local content, or actually putting hard codes into those regulations. The example that Patrick also mentioned around Brazil, who used to have very tight local content, they've now built sophisticated and well resource in-country capacity that can compete internationally. So the regulation becomes null and void. In order to encourage the in-country capacity to internationally compete, they don't need hard regulations anymore. And I'm hoping Nigeria will get there one of these, not too distant future, where our local capacity are of such that they can compete freely internationally. So, and we thank the NCDMB for nurturing that future. In terms of the Nigerian trends, from my perspective, we can already see from the presentation from Patrick that Nigerian content is going beyond oil and gas industry with presidential executive orders coming through. We're glad that the oil and gas industry has laid a template and create what I'll call good example of what can be done in a high-tech industry. If we can do it in oil and gas, trust me, I don't think any other industry has any excuse, because this is probably one of the most complex industries with a lot of natural expert content and expert investments. Legislation to compare Nigerian content in other industries such as constructions and power, that has been talked about. Governments are increasingly bringing local content into negotiations on project and license approvals. That's really good. So when you are now going into acquiring a new license or a new block, the conversations around local content is a lot more. It's not like in the past that, okay, you just go and secure it and then NCDMB will start running to try and catch up. So when those projects are being conceived or a new oil license is being negotiated, the delivery and content of sort of Nigerian input is part of the discussions. And companies that do not have a credible plan or a credible anchor are definitely not going to be attractive. So that's really good. So levies and taxation will continue to increase. We can see that trend for non-compliance. So, and then we have some overlap in regulatory oversight, e.g. the state local content legislation. So overall, the Nigerian trends basically for me shows that there is increasing support, but things are also going to get tighter in terms of ensuring that people actually comply with the intent and not circumvent the intent with a lot of masking that I think Patrick has talked about. So for us, I think just a reminder for us to start looking for ways to benefit from the opportunity that Nigeria offers. There are challenges, but those challenges, depending on whether you look at the glass as half full, presents opportunities for people who are ready to be creative and are ready to truly take advantage. Fiscal stability and a safe operating environment affecting pace of investment to unlock the local content opportunity. And that is true. And we hope that the PIB will be passed. We also hope that other fiscal enablers that encourage investment and foreign direct investment, that we go from lip service to delivery, a lot of talk. We now need to see those things come into action, right? Technology know-how, local capacity, and capacity gaps in key categories. So this represents an opportunity. There are areas where we can close the gap. Our state of supporting infrastructure, we also know, there has to be businesses, there has to be investment for us to be able to then apply local content. So we should never begin to look at local content in isolation. We need to create and make the pie bigger so that we can have more local content. If we don't have project, like Patrick said, then there's nothing to local content on. We also have to ensure that we are cost competitive, because whether we like it or not, to attract foreign investment and foreign direct investment, our country needs to be competitive. And I like, again, the comment from Patrick that local content is not at all cost. That's a very important message for all of us. Opportunities and enabler. Yeah, we talk about in-country facilities, growth in local suppliers, partnerships. I still think Nigerians still find it difficult to work with each other. And we are losing a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of talk, but we are still not consolidating capabilities. We're losing out to Ghana. We're losing out to other countries that have better collaboration, people working together. Let's learn to work together. R&D effort, investment in infrastructure and industry, ease of doing business, is things are getting better in certain areas. And the fact that we also have short contract cycles has its pros and its cons as well, but we can expand and extend these contract cycles so that the loan and the credit facilities can be better. If we do these things, the benefit for the country and for all of us is clear. We have to reduce life cycle cost of projects. The license and freedom to operate is an important one, and the reputation and the benefit to our stakeholders. Last but not the least, and this is my last slide. So again, it's just a reminder for what I already started talking about. A lot of us on this call, we know these things. We talk about them year in, year out. I think we need to continue. I don't think it's a lot of new stuff. Just even doing the things we talk about will take us to the next level. So I talk about the collaboration. It is still very difficult for Nigerian companies to work together. Everybody wants their own loan, they want their own yard, they want their own road, if possible. We're still struggling with that, and we're losing now. You need to look at Nigeria as a company and not just your company. So let's think about that. Innovation, we have great people, but they require opportunities for hands-on training and development for them to be able to translate that into value. Technology, both the ones with developing countries, but how we also replicate technologies around. We need ethical businesses that can sustain in the long term. Leadership is critical. Delivery must be championed from top, from what we have learned. That's why I started with what I showed. If it is just one engineer or one department that is struggling to implement local content, you will struggle. I've talked about partnership, both strategic partnership, not just with other companies, but also, like you've seen with BOI, but partnership with NCDMB has a partnerships framework, partnership with the companies that we're working for. And last but not the least, is that local content is not at the expense of quality as such. We've seen local products that are superior to international products. And that's where we need to anchor our mind. Some people have this mindset that because it's Nigeria, yes, give me the waiver, we can cut corners. The answer is no, that is not sustainable. So ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'd like to leave it and hand back to Richmond. Richmond, please confirm you can hear me.
Okay, thank you much, Mr. Julari. I think your network has kind of
Hello, Richmond. Richmond, can you hear me?
Yeah, MD, I can hear you very clearly, but I think Richmond is frozen, but I can see his image is frozen.
So it's not me.
No, it's not you. I can hear you very clearly, and wonderful presentation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Julari. Thank you, Mr. Shuteki. Network was being unnecessarily wise there for me. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, you've guided us through the impact of Shell on local content and the commitment of Shell, even at the global stage, a global level rather, to the local content in the countries where they do business, and ending in charging, as always, the Nigerian companies should come together and ensure collaborations for sustainability. Thank you very much, sir. We're switching gears now immediately to the next presentation, and this time we'll be listening to an industry expert with over 20 years of experience in the upstream, midstream, and downstream oil and gas industry. Now, this lady's versatility and intellectual acumen, strong and interpersonal leadership skills have led to various assignments of increasing responsibilities in her current company, Chevron. And these include commercial coordinator, team lead, gas policy manager, gas commercial manager, and gas strategy and policy manager for Chevron. She's also worked in LNG and Owando PLC. So speaking to us for the next 10 minutes is the General Manager, Nigerian Content Development at Chevron Nigeria. Let's welcome Anike Odunlami. Now, Anike would be speaking to us after her video plays. Her presentation is going to be first 5 minutes of video, and second 5 minutes will be her presentation. So we'll take her video first, and we'll continue with the presentation after the video. So after the video, madam, it will be over to you. Let the video play.
Chevron is the third largest oil producer in Nigeria and one of its largest investors. The company operates under a joint venture arrangement with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and has assets on land, swamp, and offshore concessions covering approximately 2.2 million acres in the Niger Delta region. Chevron Companies provides career opportunities for Nigerians hired as employees and workers who are under contract. Chevron plays a leading role in the building of local and indigenous contractors in Nigeria's huge oil and gas industry.
At Chevron Nigeria Limited, we demonstrate our commitment to the social, economic development of Nigeria by building mutually beneficial partnerships and supporting the policies of government on Nigerian content development.
Chevron Nigeria Limited is committed to the socio-economic development of the country. This is just exactly the way we behave everywhere in the world, and Nigeria is not different. One of our core values is partnership.
Chevron's business philosophy is driven by policies that create, build, and sustain enduring partnerships across the broad spectrum of our relationships with all stakeholders.
We have participated in several Chevron projects. The opportunities are enormous, apart from the benefits that came out of the participation in. It also afforded us the opportunity to compete with other nationals and international companies.
These partnerships did not just start today. From the inception of Chevron activities in Nigeria, local partnerships have been the hallmark of the way we operate our business in Nigeria.
We actually got involved fully with Chevron when we participated on the EGTL project, and that was precisely in November 2009.
Before the enactment of the Nigerian Content Act in 2010, Chevron had way back in 1999 already recognized the need for a formal structure to encourage participation of local companies in the oil and gas industry by implementing the Local Community Content Standard Operating Procedure LCCSOP on the Nigerian Content Development NCD.
The law was passed in 2010. We started with Chevron in 2009, and I must say that they've already incorporated all these training mechanisms for Nigerians during projects with us.
To further underscore its commitment to NC, Chevron established a Nigerian Content Division, NCD, to fully implement the NCD guidelines. The main goal of the division is to encourage Nigerian service providers and suppliers to be part of the oil and gas industry by creating business opportunities.
We have consistently used our major capital projects to carve out work scope and provide opportunities for small and medium-scale enterprises, especially the community-based ones, to build human capacity, business and service capabilities.
It actually opened us up to some other opportunities in other oil and gas business. So we now know that we can do business outside Chevron too, by the orientation and everything that we have got.
The NCD program was important to Broad Global and indeed to the country, Nigeria, because it afforded us the opportunity to build our capacity.
Their performance and drive for local content has been fantastic.
We have initiated and executed Nigerian content development programs which have influenced positive changes and are helping to improve the quality of life of the people, especially in areas of our operation.
Chevron has an unwavering commitment to local partnership, which has always focused on building productive, collaborative, trusting, and beneficial relationships. In growing and building our local resources, we are focused on evolving long-term relationships with local partners that share our values.
As a company as big as Chevron, I never got a push down till today. It was just straight up. Under 1 month, I got approval. We got the expression of interest for $1 million contract for 5 years. So we have that contract. We got that contract under 1 month. That should show you how enthusiastic they were.
People are key to us at Chevron, and with our relationships with our local content providers, we offer access to innovative technology partnerships that drive performance, delivering results, and training skilled employees who can then contribute to building local capacity and competency.
I really want to commend Chevron Nigeria Limited for giving Sukunu Hyderabad Concept Limited this opportunity to fabricate. It has really helped develop our capacity.
Chevron seeks to be the energy company most admired for its people's partnerships and performance. PPP. With a Nigerian content development program, we continue to define the vision, values, and strategies, building a roadmap for doing business and adding value to our communities and Nigeria.
We do all these not just because it's required by the law, but because it's the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Richmond. I believe the video says it all. We would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity to showcase and share content. As Chevron Nigeria Limited, we have a commitment to the socio-economic development of Nigeria, identifying better and supporting the policy of government on Nigerian content itself, the capacities of several Nigerian businesses by allocating substantial scope of our major capital projects to Nigerian companies. CNL is also helping to grow the Nigerian economy by contributing to the development of communities in the areas. To note that we will continue in our commitment to the Nigerian Content Act. And on this forum, actually, we have our NNPC CNL Joint Venture Director. He's also here, Mr. Monday Ovwe. I hope you can hear me. However, I'm not going to take much more of your time. The video has said a success story in Nigerian content development. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so very much, Mrs. Anike Odulami. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate your incisive contribution, and your video indeed did tell us all of the story that what Chevron is doing, in the country. We're switching gears now to a very critical partner sector of Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Now, this sector of the Nigerian oil and gas industry are the people who went ahead many years before local content became a law, many years before it became an accepted way to do business. They were before now considered the Cinderellas when they began the journey. They weathered the storm, they took up the challenges and came through to today as leading service providers, not just to the Nigerian oil and gas industry, but also to Africa and the global oil and gas industry at large. They fly Nigeria's flag very high at different forums across the globe. They are the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, PETAN. Their chairman has been with us on this call all morning, but because he has to join the high-powered meeting I spoke about earlier at the National Assembly, he just a few minutes left the call to go into that meeting room at the National Assembly. But do not worry, we will still get the voice and perspective of this most reputable arm of the Nigerian oil and gas industry as their vice chairman, who is also the chief executive officer of Radar Circle Group, a chartered accountant and a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants with over 38 years experience in public and private sector, will be speaking to us for the next 10 minutes. I welcome on the virtual stage, Mr. Ronti Omole. Over to you, boss. You need to unmute yourself, sir. Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, sir. Yes, excellent. You have the floor.
Okay. Good afternoon. Richmond, can you hear me well? Oh, there's an echo.
No, loud and clear. You are good to go, sir.
Okay. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria. And like Richmond said, the patent chairman, Mr. Nick Odiniwu, has to join the National Assembly program on local content to present her views. So I'm going to stand in for him. And while I'm presenting my slides, I will like to thank Rich Hansen Oil and Gas for their efforts over the years in promoting local content. This program. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm going to talk from Petan's perspective. Sorry, I have double audio, so let me just.
You can use the second device. If you're using two devices, you can mute the second one and then leave only one on.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Now we can't hear you at all.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let me use this single device. So Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria is the association of indigenous Nigerian service providers established in 1990. The early members came together to promote local content awareness, collaborate within themselves, collaborate with the industries, focus on how to develop local capacity in Nigeria, encourage Nigerians to own assets, and see how they can domesticate technology. Like what Patrick said, Patrick Oba of NCDMB, in the pre-local content law, the local content capacity was less than 5%. That means virtually all the jobs were being done, were being imported into the country. And also remembered that most of the local content jobs were jobs that actually don't just have to be done in Nigeria. You know, the trenching, the cable metal fabrications, things that obviously cannot be easily brought in. So, so PETAN as an association has about 100 Nigerian service companies involved in a wide range of technical services across the chain, more than 250. We employ 25,000 employees or more, and I have collateral employment of more than 100,000. And we're also proud to say that Richardson Oil and Gas is one of our members. So based on the quality of what it's doing, so we can, that shows you what PETAN members are made of. Now, we're trying to talk about the future of the industry, but I believe that, like the slide shared by Patrick, we need to know where we're coming from, where we are, and that will also help us to shape on where we're going. So when we're talking about 10 years of Nigerian, the Logic Act or the local content law, we are talking about 30 years of PETAN local content advocacy and development. And I've tried to put it into 4 different decades. PETAN established in 1990 by Nigerian service companies. And the focus then was to showcase that, yes, we have Nigerian companies that can provide some of these services, patronize us, support us. And that was what most of them did in that first 10 years. And after the first 10 years, the second 10 years, which is 2001 to 2010, which actually corroborated with the slides presented by Patrick on the various government guidelines, IOC, NCD department, NCD guidelines, which also helped to catalyze the local content opportunities and engagement of indigenous service companies. And the third decade, that's 2010, which 2011 to 2020, but started with 2010, when the Nigerian local content law was enacted and signed, which now became a major catalyst. And that has run the industry for the past 10 years. And now we're looking at the 10 years ahead. With the advent of the local content law, it's de-risked the activities, make the investments much more attractive to Nigerian service providers. And this led to a lot of assets ownership, either directly in collaboration, through funding, equity. And that's why today you have Nigerian companies that own drilling rigs, marine vessels. I could see Marine Platform, one of our members, showcased by Chevron. Those who specialized vessels with ROVs, world-class fabrication yards all over the country, integration yards where solutions, various parts are integrated. And we have engineering design centers fueled by the fact that the law is promoting and representing engineering design in country. And we also have members, investing in their logistic base. Equally, because of the capacity development, we have a lot of people that are vast in land and swamp operations, well engineering, well testing, engineering design, SESME data acquisitions and processing, fabrications, specialized packages, pressure vessels, platforms, conductors, SBMs, jackets, accommodations, all being fabricated in country. And we've also seen a lot of Nigerian companies now involved in pipeline constructions, replacing the whole pipelines, and the new pipeline projects, AKK projects, OB3, all of this have been done by Nigerian companies. And they also have the vessel owners, where the Nigerians own the vessels and also manage the crew, providing the valuable sea time for Nigerians. And now we also provide a lot of offshore support for the deep water and also management of assets and of course, employment and training, for Nigerians. Excuse me. And equally, with the Nigerian content law, we're able to domesticate more of the technology. And then now you have Nigerian EPC companies, EPICs, companies who come out with smart solutions, various ways to manage assets, bespoke designs, which they design themselves, fabricate and integrate, and deploy on the fields. We now have Nigerians, forming independent EMPs and the marginal EMP companies. Excuse me. We also have modular refineries now being invested into by Nigerian companies, and with a lot of fabrications for the refineries being done. We have about four ongoing modular refinery projects now in the country. And now we have Nigerian service companies that can now provide the end-to-end of the support chain required for the EMP. Equally, it comes with financing. You find out that since there are opportunities now, and there are more assurance that when you invest in capacity or when you own assets, you'll be patronized. So more Nigerians are putting equity into their businesses for capital investments. And like BOI, the director mentioned earlier, that's the NCDMB, NCL BOI, $200 million loan to the local contractors. And I think there's additional 200 I just recently approved, to increase the size of the fund. And of course, the new short-term working capital fund arrangement between NCDMB and PETEN. But the industry can do more with more funding. I think that's one of the major challenges for those across the value chain, and also being able to access competitive short-term funding for their both short-term and long-term funding for the activities beyond what is available from the NCDMB BOI. Well, recent, I've seen Nigerian banks now trying to come and match the BOI NCDMB rates, which is a positive, welcome development for the industry. And those competitive rates will actually help to sustain most of the indigenous contractors and be more competitive. And that way, the cost of their services will go down. Now we're talking about the future. We've implemented the local content law for 10 years. We've seen it as a catalyst. We've seen it as a business tool, investment tool. And we've seen it as a law, enabling the business environment, creating opportunities, and encouraging people to invest. So from our perspective as PETEN, we look more towards collaboration and partnership for capacity development in the next 10 years. We've started that by creating TIG groups, which is to bring people in similar sectors together. We're looking at engaging more, all the stakeholders in the industry and see how to participate. We're also focusing on the areas where there are local content gaps, in the Logic Act. So those are areas where we need to invest. We're also looking at the high cost drivers, for the oil industry, where investing in local capacity will actually reduce the cost, the maintenance cost, the operational cost, and the true domestication of services. And very important is the COVID-19 game changing. Because of limited expatriate mobility and those scheduled for jobs couldn't come in, I found out that now most of the jobs being done have been done by Nigerian companies. Some are feats being done for the first time through remote support, pre-mobilization engagement, and knowledge gathering. And that has actually shown that Nigerian service providers, they've come of age and given us more opportunities, we're able to do much more. And using technology, we'll be able to get to the next level. And also in particular, the NCDMB targets of 700%, which I think through collaborations and partnership and investment, we're able to do there. And PETAN has formally set up a TIG consortium, a legal entity that will allow us, the PETAN members, to come together under a single umbrella and compete for larger jobs, pull our resources together, pull our assets together, have synergy within ourselves, and also be able to use that as a platform to support the regional activities and support. We also look at programs, because we have teaming youth, young graduates. So we're looking at various programs on how to create employment for them. And finally, before I just round up, we also know that we are now starting to work strategically with some of the IOCs, trying to look at the areas where we can actually create opportunities. We invest, grow capacities, and help to reduce the costs in the industry, also help to achieve the higher targets. So on this note, I say thank you for Richardson Oil and Gas for this opportunity. We are proud of you, and we wish you many more good programs. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ronti Omole, Vice Chairman of the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, representing the chairman, Mr. Nick Odinowe, who had to step into a National Assembly meeting to address issues again around local content. So we appreciate your stepping in for your chairman, even in this last minute. Thank you. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're continuing with our program. We're going to take the next speaker. Before I do that, I will take this 1-minute video, this time from one of our sponsors for today's event. After that, I will come back and introduce the speaker. Let's have the video, please.
Some dreams are big. Some dreams are small. Some dream to go from place to place. Dreams of love and ever after. Dreams and sacrifices that builds the future. Whatever the dream or step or journey, you can do more with a partner that cares about your dreams. Access, more than banking.
Okay, Access More Than Banking, one of our sponsors for this year's forum. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing with our speakers, discussants rather, and this time we're bringing you a woman who is an expert in oil and gas, health, safety, and environment. She has over 2 decades of experience in these regards. She is recently retired as a regulator, served as head of public affairs at the Department of Petroleum Resources, head of safety and environment unit, and so many other departments of the DPR where she was head. But today, she is the fellow of the Nigerian Society of Environment. She is also a fellow of the Society of Toxicology and Pollution Mitigation, and also a fellow of the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria. She's coming to us this morning as the president of the Nigerian Environmental Society. Please welcome with me, Dr. Dorothy Bassey. Ma'am, the stage is yours.
Can you see me?
Not yet. I think you've not started your video.
All right.
Awesome. Brilliant.
All right. Thank you very much, Richard. I know that I do have less than 5 minutes. Let me just put it that way. I would like to say thank you for inviting me. This is typically, oftentimes, a safety event, but in his with his wisdom, he has decided to bring in the environmental perspective. And so for that, I say thank you, kudos, and well done. That is indeed forward looking. We have seen and heard a lot of things. I have 3 comments first, which is to say that Richardson has demonstrated what Nigerian content is. A local company taking the Nigerian business to the global space. And we have seen consistency, we have seen sustainability, we are also seeing very high standards. So congratulations once again on this 12th edition, and I wish you more gains going forward. I have 9 slides, and I will not dwell on each and every one because we have heard it all. And I'm going to be speaking from the perspective of the man on the street. Forget about my experience. I'll definitely share some of my experiences because I started my career registering companies who wanted to do business in the oil and gas sector. And one of the things we saw at that time, 2009, was that foreign companies would come in with their briefcases, lodge at a hotel, get their contracts, execute the contract, and fly out. So Nigerian Content Development Board has really, really done a lot. I will join my voice in saying that. However, there are still areas we need to focus on. So going back to my slide, the intent was to have a legal framework which would give strong backing to all the activities and the policies in the Nigerian Content Act that we have seen. Another objective was to do detailed verification. But while we talk about verification of contractors, my question would be, who does the verification? Do we have third-party auditors to ensure that really and truly there isn't any bias there? The other point I'd like to bring out from my second slide would be the database. I've seen a lot of talk around training, skills, and expertise. This database that we have in country, are we going to leave it in country, or are we looking at opportunities to export the expertise and the skills that have been developed and with the money spent thus far? So that's something we would like to talk about. Already I have talked about this, potential to create jobs, promotion of indigenous participation. So going to slide 4, what are the gains? We have several indigenous companies in the oil and gas sector today. And kudos to them, because the oil and gas sector is not a walk in the park. They have taken the bulls by the horn, and a lot of indigenous companies have a lot to showcase. We have local refineries, not discounting those ones in the creeks, because products coming out from the creeks have been compared with refined products abroad in Europe. So what do? Are we looking at tapping into the knowledge base, albeit the environment has been impacted and is continuously being impacted? However, these guys in the creeks, they have some knowledge that the country can tap into. Service providers, mostly Nigerians, that is a very big plus. And again, fabrication yards, training schools specific to the oil and gas. Again, there is move away from fossil fuels. Are we being proactive looking at the other sectors like renewables? What are the threats? Because it cannot be all rosy. Everybody has been clapping and saying it's 100% okay. I lend my voice to the strides made by Nigerian content. However, there are still areas of focus that I think more attention should be given to, and that would be collaboration amongst agencies, succession plans, technology transfer. Yes, indeed, we do have the training schools and the training of welders and all of that, but would companies willingly hand over their technology to the locals? That is an area that, even for me, I ask the question. And again, what is the real value? Technologically backwards, that was not what I meant to say. What I meant to say was the infrastructure in the country. We cannot do Nigerian content without a focus on infrastructure in the country. We cannot make much gain. I see the very ambitious targets set, which is good. It is good to push ourselves. It is good also to aim very, very high. We are operating in a global space. And because we are Nigerians, the standards must not reduce or be compromised. Look ahead, post-COVID. I see that the Nigerian Content Act is being extended, or there's proposal for its extension into other critical sectors of the economy, which is a very good move. And so, which areas are we going to be looking at? Which specific areas are we going to be looking at? I leave that to the committee. Another area that I think we are not perhaps optimizing is data sharing. Every agency has its data, but is that data being shared? Because what agency A has, or the information and the knowledge they have, may not be the same as another agency. And so, with all the data that has been collated over the years, how are we using this information to further drive Nigerian content? This we can term as a stakeholder engagement once in a year. But please, the agencies, I think, need more and continuous engagement of all stakeholders. I was hoping to see the immigration. I don't know, they may be here, but that agency is very critical to Nigerian content, especially when we look at expatriate quota. There's still abuse. Certainly it has reduced drastically, but I can tell you categorically that there are several places in the country you will go to and all you will see, you will not even see any Nigerian there. You will not see any Nigerian there. So there has to be better coordination and public review of the data and perhaps some information that will be of benefit so that we will obtain real value to Nigeria. Again, continuous engagement cannot be overemphasized. And I do thank Richardson Oil and Gas. They have not relented and they try to bring everybody to the table. With that, we know exactly who our partners are and what their contributions towards Nigerian content. Certainly, collaboration is key. Funding to indigenous companies. Recently, the DPR revoked 11 licenses of some indigenous companies. And why is that? The primary reason is funding. Primarily, there could be other reasons, perhaps capacity or technical expertise, but the primary reason is funding. And so the Bank of Industry, with their presentation, I think perhaps we will have some inroads into addressing this. This should not be, especially when we look at the interest rates and the conditions for assessing funding. I'd like to mention verification of the contractors, of the companies. There has to be some independency outside of the Nigerian content to give full confidence to the global space of what our companies can do. More of that will certainly help in upping the game and ensuring that these companies are able to operate in the global arena. And of course, that in itself will bring real boost to the Nigerian economy. And so, post-COVID, the environment, I know that when companies come to make presentations in those days, work program presentations, look ahead and all of that, the environment used to have very little, very little compared to the other budgets. But I don't want to say thank God there is COVID, but COVID has shown us that you cannot discountenance the environment or relegate the environment to the background. And that is why I am so delighted that the organizers have thought it wise to bring the environmental perspective into this conference and seminar. There has to be a shift in our thinking. We need to begin to look at alternatives because the data is there, evidence is there, we may be running short. And so, proactively, Nigerian Content Development Board should be looking at other options for boosting and encouraging local content. That is ensuring that we have business optimization across the sectors, making sure that companies are strategically positioned to enter and be relevant. And of course, resilience is important. And when we talk about resilience, it boils down to training. It boils down to standards, not compromising standards. Because oftentimes, Nigerian companies are knocked off because they are not meeting the required standards. And so when we look at the database of the companies that have been verified and have been endorsed as having international standards, we begin to put them to use. The gas industry has been in operation for over 50 years. There are lots of experts available, willing, and ready, not necessarily about money, but giving back to the society and giving back to the sector that has given them so much. So we must also look at having these individuals, key individuals, who are able and willing to join hands with the companies, with government, with the agencies to ensure that our people are well trained. We cannot overflog that aspect of Nigerian content. I'd stop here and very willing and happy to take any questions. Like I said, thank you very much for having me give my perspective on the topic at hand. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Dr. Dorothy Bassey. Thank you so very much. Well, we'll just take this 1-minute video before I proceed to the rest of this event. Please, let's have that. Okay, thank you. That is a message from the Nigerian Environment Society, Nigerian Environmental Society. And thank you to their president, Dr. Dorothy Bassey, for sharing her insights and perspective with us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a few questions that have come in. We're going to take a few questions that have come in. I'm glad that my panelists are still in the room. They are still in the room. The very first question here, let me go to the first one. The very first question here is coming from Michael Adande. Michael is asking, how do you gauge the impact of Nigerian content so far in creating atmosphere conducive for business enterprise, especially in the Niger Delta, knowing our history and the effects of the current COVID-19 pandemic? Mr. Oba, sir. Mr. Oba, did you get the question?
Yeah, I guess I heard you. It's a little bit complicated. I'm sure the person who is asking this question is from the Niger Delta. That's the first assumption I'm going to make.
Perhaps.
Yes, and I'm also from the Niger Delta, and I believe that what I know about the Niger Delta, he also knows. This thing is a problem for those of us from the Niger Delta. If you do not write your history, others will tell your history. That's exactly where we are. We have a task as Niger Deltans to better our environment. And I want to draw the man who asked this question to just a little thing that I experienced while I visited China in 2011. When I visited China, I was ushered into a government-to-government discussion by the Chinese and the Nigerian counterparts by the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry then. And that discussion, during the discussion, I asked a question. I asked the Chinese investors because a particular company, Yulong, was mentioned in the course of the discussion. So I said, we're expecting Yulong to come and then kickstart their pipe mill project in Bayelsa State. And they told me point blank, the Chinese told me point blank that that investment was not going to take off in Bayelsa State. I said, why? We have everything for you to say, no, you do not have the security and you cannot guarantee the security. And business is about return on investment. So if you're hearing me out there, I'm sure you're still in the call. That is the key issue. Discussing local content without guaranteeing investment means nothing. First of all, the environment has to be secure, and we have to provide all that it takes for people to be able to reap the profits from their various investments in the area before we can talk about who invests and what in the Niger Delta area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oba. Thank you. I'm still with you. This next question, I'm going to ask you this next question. I will also ask Dr. Bassey if she can chime in here as well. But this question says, regarding the large number of illegal refineries reported around the creeks in the Niger Delta, is there anything being done by the NCDMB and other agencies to review and perhaps organize and develop these and develop capacities and standards for the benefit of the country rather than the current cap and villian approach?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good one again. I think in 2018 or so, the Nigerian Council on Hydrocarbon mandated NCDMB to work with the Bayelsa State government to come up with a strategy to be able to see how to convert those refineries to make them more useful in form of conventional or modern refineries. And we set up a committee with the Bayelsa State government. But you know, things don't just work that way in this country, you know. It's been there, committee has been set up, but nothing has so far happened. But the desire of government is to ensure that all those refineries been converted to something that will produce what we want and yet respect the environment the way they are. Let me see this opportunity, Richmond, to be able to touch a little bit on some of the issues that Dr. Bassi mentioned. She talked about skills and technology transfer, and talking about succession planning and expatriate quota abuse. I want to use the opportunity to let understand that, let us understand, sorry please, that the NCDMB has a very robust platform for managing expatriate quota, and we are sharing data with the Federal Ministry of Interior, also DPR, excuse me, also DPR. We are going beyond manual sharing of information to electronic sharing of information. That's real time through our API application, which has been developed by the NCDMB. So that would take care of that. In terms of expatriate quota abuse outside the oil and gas industry, we are waiting for the extension of Nigerian content laws into other sectors of the economy. I believe with experience from the Nigerian Content Development Board, it will be easy to manage expatriate quota approvals outside the Nigerian oil and gas industry. And verification of local contractors, I think that is also a robust platform from the project certification and authorization division within the NCDMB. They work hand in hand with NAPIMS and the IPEX to ensure that that is being done. Data sharing between the agencies, yes, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources came up with a policy for all the agencies under its purview to be able to share data. So we're developing a system that will be warehoused by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources for all industry data to be shared on that particular platform. And of course, that will be managed by NPR and have very serious input by the National Bureau for Statistics. So ensure that the data that will be generated by the ministry is not at variance with what is being generated by the Nigerian Bureau for Statistics. Then what is the value of all of this? There is so much value, as we can know, from 5%, less than 5% to where we are today at 31%. Has a lot of value, but like I mentioned in my presentation, Nigerian content is not just about what we do right now. It's far deeper than what we do. You know, we, of course, from the philosophical side of it, we need to develop and sustain the philosophy that this is exactly what we want to do, so that people don't say that, oh, this is NCDMB's stuff, this is DPR stuff, this is NAPIM stuff, or this is Ministry of Works stuff. No, that's not local content. Local content is about people getting to do what is right to add value to the growth of the economy. It's everybody's task, and that has to pass through the various stages of the educational level as we have in the country. Pupils in primary school should know that it is their responsibility to develop their local resources and use them internally. Whether they call it local content or not is immaterial. People must understand that that is what they need to do to survive as a people. And SC able to look beyond their present scope. Yes, probably that's what I got from some of the that particular area of comment which Dr. Bassi mentioned. Like I said, the National Assembly is doing something together with some representatives of NCDMB and Ministry of Petroleum Resources. So once we have that, I believe we'll be able to do something. So you can see local content practice is not about just a group of people or just one person pioneering a cause, but everybody to imbibe that philosophy to be able to do what is right for them to live as human beings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Bassi, I know you mentioned something around these local refineries producing fairly good quality of finished product. Are you, from your experience in the industry, are you aware of any other agency that is taking a lead or working to help, as this Adefemi Shosonya is asking, if there's anything being done to develop those capacities? Are you aware?
Yes, I am. I had a meeting with the Honorable Minister of Environment yesterday here in Abuja, and this particular issue was discussed. We discussed it because in trying to solve a problem, we do not want to create another one. Already the soot in that area, in that region, Port Harcourt and its environs, is a major, major health issue. And so there were conversations around engaging the youth, ensuring that the JTF do not randomly go and destroy and set fire, because that's a different ballgame altogether. We're talking about the environment. We're talking about the health of people. People are dying daily as a result of the way it's currently being handled. So yes, indeed, there's talk about how this will be readdressed. Certainly it is a problem, but in that problem, there are opportunities and there are benefits, in the sense that who taught them? How did they get about configuring without going to school, perhaps? So that is dynamite for me, if you ask me personally. And then coming back to what my colleague said about sharing data, I remember when I was doing my research, one comment touched me very, very, very badly. And that was, somebody said, you cannot sit in your offices and know what is going on outside or going on in the field. That was a challenge for our agency. I know a lot of things have changed over time, but I am only suggesting that we need to pay more attention. Yes, indeed, on paper, everything is perfect, but in the field, it's a totally different story. And may I ask, did anybody see the differences between the presentations from Total, from Shell, the first 4 presentations compared to ours and Petan? The beautiful colors, the beautiful diagrams. When I was in service, we would present the best of the best presentations. Like I said, in theory, everything is perfect, but in practice, we need to pay more attention. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Dr. Bassi and Mr. Oba. So thank you so much, our ED, Mr. Simon Aranono from BOI. We'll have a question here for you. Kola Olamiju is asking, what is BOI's position and approach towards angel capital for startups?
I believe that question from Kola, I guess, is focused generally on BOI products, that could be candidates for angel capital. Because if it's for oil and gas, which is what we are discussing, we all know that the oil and gas is highly capital intensive. And the figures you have had me roll out, they all run in several millions of dollars. And we are still scratching the surface, even with the level where we are, So when it comes to what is close to venture capital, angel capital, you need massive capital to do that. And because of the risks that are involved in the oil and gas sector, and because you need capacity, really. And so what we are doing generally when it comes to the kind of fund you are referring to is on the SME side, not on oil and gas. On the SME, we have a small and medium enterprises directorate, and we have 2 special funds there that you can actually, that are clearly, angel capital, coming from BOI. And those funds, there are 2 of them. We have one of them we call Graduate Entrepreneurial Fund, called JEF. There's another one we call Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Scheme, YES. Now these 2 schemes are purely, angel capital based, and they are funded by BOI. The JEF is the one for fresh graduates who are living, who are in the NYSC camp, and we have a partnership with the NYSC at the national level, where the every year they go through some exams, they write some feasibility studies, and they offer, we review what they have done. We have a team that reviews it, and we select those who have bankable projects. And we indeed provide funding for them, and also go the extra mile of giving them capacity. Because we have agreement with entrepreneurship development centers. We have with Kaduna Business School, Lagos Business School, and some other business schools where we send them on training, on capacity building, and we bear the cost. And after they have been trained, then we release capital. That we have done successfully. The same thing with the one we call the ESP, which is actually the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, which is for those who have finished youth service but have no job, but are between the age of 18, between age of 20 and 30. And those young graduates who have no job, we have their own scheme for them. It goes through the same process. You do a feasibility study, we receive if it's a bankable project. If we select you among those who are qualified, then we send you for capacity building in the EDCs. After that, we release money to them. That we have done successfully in these two areas. And the criteria is available on our website. If you just Google ESP or GF, you will see all the requirements. You can always apply, or if you know anybody who is interested, they can apply. So those are the things we are doing on our own side at the SME levels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for that answer. Because of time, Mr. Aronti Omole, I'm going to come to you with one question, albeit from two different attendees, Charity Daniel and Peter Agunu. Now, they all want to know the way forward for this collaboration. And I figure that being the people who provide the services, collaboration would definitely be amongst you. Predominantly, I guess that is what the likes of Mr. Julari is looking forward to seeing. So Charity says, how do we move ahead with these collaborations? And then Mr. Agunu is asking, should there be a development of a collaboration protocol to which companies can sign up to? I think you get the point I'm making. Should there be such, and how do we move forward with it? Over to you, Mr. Omole.
Yeah, thank you, Richmond. Yes, I mean, collaboration, it's both formal and informal. The informal one is a natural tendency by individuals to look at how they can work together and how they can do things much better. And that one is based more on trust. And the formal is actually to have a proper framework or a template that can actually be used by people that want to collaborate. So the first thing we're doing is, first of all, encouraging our members within the various technology groups to come together. And then we're also developing a framework that they can actually use to handle all aspects of the collaboration. Invariably, what we're seeing is that when you have a job that requires different services, people of different service components can actually come together under an umbrella and do that job. So that's we are promoting, that we put a framework together for. And equally, some of the IOCs have actually started encouraging collaborations, especially when they have integrated projects. And they bring in different service providers to come together under a project management to execute those jobs. So it is for us at local service providers to actually realize that when we put together our assets, our resources, we can optimize the usage. I can give you an example. You have some regional vessel owners that operate certain number of vessels across West Africa. They are able to collaborate on country-country basis and increase the optimization of the utilization time of those vessels. Whereas somebody who operates just within a single window and operates alone So once you finish a contract, you need to wait for 9 months before you can use, get another contract. But whereas if you have, collaborations, you can use my assets, I can use your assets, I can sublet my assets to you. You can use it rather than you trying to buy. And then we all have assets that are underutilized. So it's a work in progress. And the more we see workable examples by different consortium, the more people will realize that the best way to do business is actually to collaborate and partner together. Then that way you can take bigger pies and you can also maximize the utilization of your various resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you are all seeing it, my distinguished panelists. The attendees are full of praise, appreciation, and thanks for all your insightful contributions, your stimulating conversations. The congratulations are pouring in, the thank yous are pouring in. But my most distinguished attendees, this is the much we can take with the questions. I understand a lot of you have asked some more questions. Because of time, we know you need to go back to the rest of your day's business. We want to respect your time, and we thank you for allowing us to respect your time. We're switching gears now to a very short ceremony. Usually at this forum, we recognize outstanding individuals for their contributions to the industry. And that is exactly what we're going to do in the next 1 to 3 minutes. It is the Nigerian Content Development Star Awards. As I said, it's going to be really very short. I would just call out the names of the recipients of this award, and the CEO of Richardson Oil and Gas and convener of this forum will take it over and just make a brief comment, and that will be where we draw the cuttings, then switch to vote of thanks and closing prayer, and that will be it. So for the Nigerian Content Development Star Award, our first recipient is the gentleman who led his company in achieving 77% local content on a major FPSO project. I'm talking about the Egina project. And this gentleman needs no introduction, Engineer Amadou Kida Musa. Should I say Dr. Amadou Kida Musa, as his formal MD would like to call him. Congratulations, sir. And the second person is the man whom I call the game changer. You heard the BOI say that once he assumed office, he set in motion the need to allow Nigerian business people access to funds for the NCIF, and he achieved that, and there are more trenches coming. We salute you for your tenacity, sir. Engineer Simbi Kesie Wabote, FNSC, for being one of our recipients of this award. And of course, our next recipient is a man who not only is willing to see Nigeria succeed, but open the doors of his agency, government agency, that is, to ensure that the people in the oil and gas industry have a taste of their expertise and their excellence in giving finances and providing support for business growth. You also heard them say that they're providing that support across all levels of society. I'm talking about the managing director of the BOI, Bank of Industry, Mr. Olukayede Piton. We thank you very much. And our next recipient is a gentleman who oversees billions of dollars in E&P operations for a multinational. And he also has ensured over the years that many Nigerian engineers and professionals are trained in the upstream side of the industry. And he continues to lend his voice in seeing sustainability in the Nigerian oil and gas industry as it concerns indigenous players. I call him the champion of collaboration. The managing director of SNEPCO, Mr. Bayo Ojulari, is our next recipient. We thank you very much, sir. And finally, to these gathering of Nigerian service providers who, as you have heard today, in the last 30 plus years have been advancing and pushing forcefully the development of local expertise for the utilization in the Nigerian oil and gas industry, flying Nigerians' flag across many international events and even within the country, holding forth for the Nigerian people. The Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria is our next recipient. Congratulations. I'll pass it now to Mr. Akin Oshuntoki to just make some comments.
Thank you very much, Richmond. I must thank all the participants that have joined us in the last 3 hours or so. It's been an exciting time. We wish to acknowledge the passion, energy, and contributions of the recipients of the Nigerian Content Development Star Award, the very first one. It is our belief that this recognition and award will spur them to do more. On behalf of the technical board of PSRG Richardson HSSE Forum, we say congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Amazing. And thank you too, sir, for recognizing those very deserving experts in our industry. We will now take the vote of thanks, to appreciate our sponsors and to appreciate all of you. I'd like to call on Tiwa Lade Toki. Tiwa, please take it away for your vote of thanks. You proceed from there as well to the closing prayer for this event. Tiwa, you have the stage.
Mr. Richmond, can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear, Tiwa, loud and clear. But I'm not seeing your video, Tiwa.
Okay, I'm sure it will be up very soon.
Okay. Great, so, there you go, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the PSRG Richardson Alliance, we wish to appreciate everyone that has contributed to the success of this year's forum. Firstly, we would like to thank our distinguished sponsors for their relentless support over the years. Your support is the reason why this event has continued for so long, and we sincerely appreciate you. Secondly, our sincere gratitude goes to the seasoned professionals that have shared their wealth of knowledge with us today. All of these presentations have shown us that we can actually do more to contribute to local content in Nigeria. And lastly, we would like to thank all of our participants, both in Nigeria and abroad. We do this event for you to be able to engage each and every one of you. And we thank you for always supporting us and being a part of it. You've taken time out of your busy schedules to be here today, and we do not take it for granted. Thank you very much. We hope that next year, we'll be able to have a physical event whereby we can all meet, network, and also have an opportunity just to rub minds together. So thank you very much for all that you do for us. We are sincerely grateful. And I'll just say a short prayer to close the event. Thank you, Jesus, for the success of this year's event. Lord, we pray, oh Lord, that come next year, everyone here will be able to participate, and even other people will be able to participate. Thank you, Lord, for in Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Thank you very much. See you next year.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. She said it all. There's nothing more to say other than say, we'll see you next year for both on-site and online events. So you mark the date when the date is announced, and we'll be here to bring you another informative, another exciting, and most importantly, ideas generating and a networking platform for you to continue to, meet with your peers in the industry. My name is Richmond Osuji. As always, it's been my pleasure serving you in this capacity. And as I love to say, arrivederci. Bye-bye.